Time for another edition of Brownie Bites. Hey, the Browns won. Yes, 24-10 over the Las Vegas Raiders. Shedeur Sanders getting his first start, first rookie to win a game in, 6 eons for the Browns, at least in this century for the first time. A rookie quarterback has picked up a victory, and it is what the talk of the town will be. Unfortunately, Kevin Stefanski's not ready to commit for a quarterback next week. Daryl Ruiter, it's your Brownie Bites. What'd you think of the game?
I look, Shedeur did just enough to show me that he is worthy of another start. He certainly brought a level of playmaking that we have not seen a lot of this year. Certainly credit the yards after the catch on offense. And then defensively, it was just demolition derby. Poor Geno Smith. He's going to be seeing those white helmets and white jerseys in his nightmares. 10 sacks for the Browns defense. That is second most in franchise history, I should say, as they fell one sack short. I was really hoping in the final series that they were going to get it. But Myles Garrett was on the sideline. They had 11 against the Atlanta Falcons, November 18th, 1984. But the history that everybody is going to be talking about is the fact that Shedeur Sanders has broken the winless streak by debuting quarterbacks. It was 17 losses in a row. He is the first rookie to win his debut start since Eric Zaire in 1995. Shedeur Sanders is 1-0, and the 24 points scored, Andy, the second most by a Browns team this season. Of course, they scored 31 in that win over the Miami Dolphins a couple of weeks ago, but the 24 points, the second most scored this season. So a lot of positives offensively for this one. And again, just an absolutely dominating performance by that Browns defense, led by none other than number 95 himself, Myles Garrett.
And we had talked about that before we got on the air here, that through 11 games, he has 18 sacks. That is an NFL record. Shortest amount of games to get to that sack number. He and the Browns defense looked outstanding today, but the story will be Shedeur Sanders. So let's go back. I think the thing about Shedeur that impressed me the most today was, last week I listened to his post-game interview. I was in the room. He was like a kid in the candy store, despite the fact that they lost. He was just excited to be out on the field with players that had played in the NFL before. If you go back and listen to the pregame show from today, the newness of that had worn off, and that he knew these guys were his teammates, and he was ready to play with them this week as far as, trying to get the ball down the field. And the newness had worn off, and I think that's exactly what he needed to have the confidence that he already has and to be able to build forward on this thing. It became a job this week for him, and it was the first time he had the opportunity to do that, and I thought he passed with flying colors.
Yeah, I had a couple players last week tell me that they were really impressed with his behind-the-scenes preparation efforts going into the game. And then Deanna Rossini of The Athletic detailed some of the specifics surrounding that in her article Sunday morning. But you're right. It was a very business-like approach for him throughout the week and also throughout the game, I think. I thought he acquitted himself extremely well. He made one mistake in the game, and that is he didn't see a player drop back into coverage, and it ended up as an interception. Yes, he did get some help, but I think the throw of the game was the 53-yard strike, moving to his right outside the pocket and just throwing an absolute seed down the field on target. Probably should have been a touchdown, but it got him inside down to the 2-yard line there. And then, of course, Quinshon Judkins was able to ram it home off the Wildcat formation there. He scored twice on the Wildcat formation. But I loved what I saw from Shedeur Sanders. Sure, Dylan Sampson did the bulk of the work on the 66-yard touchdown. The blocking was just absolutely superb on that screen into the right flat there, and then Sampson ended up doing the rest. But I thought Shedeur played fairly well. And again, I saw things from him in just those 4 quarters, Andy, and actually the 6 quarters he's been on the field that I just haven't seen from Dylan Gabriel. Just, it's lifeless when Dylan Gabriel is on the field. I'm sorry. It is. And it wasn't perfect for Shedeur, but there was life. And I'm not surprised that after the game, Kevin Stefanski did not commit to Shedeur starting next week against the San Francisco 49ers. I have a feeling that'll be an announcement that gets made either on Monday in his Zoom call or on Wednesday. But yeah, I think Shedeur Sanders deserves a pat on the back for the job he did. The statistics won't blow you away, but it was good enough to win a game. And oh, by the way, that is the first time they've had over 200 net yards passing going back to week 2 of this season, Andy.
And he goes 11 for 20, 206, average first down, at 10.5. Only took 3 sacks, or only took 1 sack for 3 yards, which I think is big because the offensive line came through for him. Also, when you look at the divide, the Browns rushed the ball 27 times, and they threw the ball, 30 or 20? What do you got? 20. He threw the ball 20 times. Okay, so, again, the distribution somewhat equal again. And this is the 3rd week in a row since they've changed offensive coordinators, which I think is an important note because that seems to be the way they want to win this thing. And, yeah, I mean, they did get good numbers on the ground. And, Judkins had 47. Sampson had 23. Great numbers? No. Good numbers? Yes.
Yeah, and, you mentioned the blocking up front. Yeah, let's give the offensive line some credit. That was one of my keys to the game going into this one. They needed to give Shedeur Sanders some time to see the field, to get outside of the pocket, to extend some plays and do some of those intangible things that really attract makes him attractive as a quarterback. And I thought by and large, the Browns offensive line was able to do that. You mentioned the balance offensively since Tommy Rees has taken over. Sure. Look, you got explosive plays. We talked about the 52, 53-yard pass, which I thought was really the play of the game there. Harold Fannin Jr. is just a monster running after the catch. We mentioned about Dylan Sampson, the 66-yard touchdown and the excellent blocking that he got in front of him on that screen. But look, the explosives were there today, whereas in previous weeks, Andy, quite frankly, they weren't there. And
to be able to go over the top of the defense was something we just haven't seen in forever.
Yeah, I mean, you saw him extend plays, evade pressure, was able to hit routes on the move, right? And I really think that he did a nice job managing the game and making plays when, quite frankly, you needed some plays to be made. 3rd down wasn't great for either team. This tape is not going to be sent to Canton, Ohio, by any stretch of the imagination. But again, there are things that I think they had more explosive plays Sunday than they had in Dylan Gabriel's 6 starts combined, it felt like. And I realize that's a little hyperbole, and I'm sure the numbers won't back me up on that, but it just felt that way. And just watching it on television, it felt like there was energy on the sideline. They cut to Myles Garrett a couple of times, and he had a smile on his face. And oh, by the way, not on the field for that final defensive series, where he could potentially get his 4th sack of the day, and maybe the Browns tie that franchise record. You didn't see him spiking the helmet, and a big reason why is because they were up 24-10, and that game was over, and the Browns were coming home with their 3rd win of the season, which, by the way, let's not forget, Andy, matches their win total from a year ago with 6 games to play. So I have been steadfast in saying that I believe that Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry are coming back next year, and I still believe that. And I think today goes a long way towards making that a reality.
So 3rd down efficiency, you talked about that for a second. The Browns are just 3 of 12. Raiders not much better, 4 of 17. So you got into that. Total plays I thought was interesting. The Browns had 48 and the Raiders had 75. So there really weren't a lot of plays offensively for the Browns compared to the Raiders. But again, Daryl, I think, and I'm not trying to harp on it, but when we go into the talking points of this week, and about the other stat I want to bring up is time of possession. The Raiders had the ball 36-26 in this game, and the Browns had it 23-34. So just your thoughts on that, and then I want to get into what the big story is going to be coming into this week.
Yeah, look, the Browns defense spent a lot of time on the field, and they certainly made the most of it, right? I mean,
they did. I
still can't get over the 10 sacks. I really can't. Should we go through like the sack tally for the day? Should I pull? I'm gonna pull these up. Let's hand out some love here for the performances today. Obviously, Myles Garrett led the way with 3 sacks. He's got 18 on the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had Devin Bush get on the board. Isaiah
monster sack. I love the fact they kept blitzing over and over.
I know. Bush blew up Geno Smith. I'm surprised Smith got up after that hit that he took from Bush, but he did. Isaiah McGuire had a sack. Thomas had himself a sack. Let's see here. Malik Collins, they gave him credit for 2.5 sacks.
Wow.
Shelby Harris and Jerome Baker, they split a sack. What was funny is they kept moving around the sack statistics throughout the game as far as like the credit of the sacks, and because Myles might have had 4 sacks on Sunday, but they ended up taking one away and giving it to someone else. And I think it was Thomas that they gave it to. But just an outstanding defensive effort. Jim Schwartz dialed up the pressure. They got after Geno Smith. And you want to talk about a guy who was angry. Geno was mad just about every time he came to the Raiders sideline on Sunday, like he was spitting angry because he kept getting hit. And every time he looked up, he had a Cleveland Brown in his face. But just an outstanding performance there by that Browns defense that, as you mentioned, held the Raiders to 4 of 17 on third down, 268 total yards of offense allowed. How about this? The Raiders ran 75 offensive plays, Andy. The Browns ran less than 50. The Browns ran 48 of them. How about that for a statistic? The Browns still outrushed the Raiders and, 2 fewer passing yards than the Raiders. Raiders had 208. The Browns had 206, but still. And each team punted 8 times. So,
the penalties in this game were ridiculous for both teams. I mean, I just go back and looking at penalties for this game. The Browns had 77 yards in penalties. They had 8 of them.
Yep.
The Raiders had 13 penalties for 109 yards.
Yep.
Woo! Ouch.
Yeah, and that's why the Raiders are now 2-9. I mean, they did look like a 2-9 football team. The Browns at times look like a 3-8 team, but you could see that the Browns clearly are further along in the, I don't know, you want to call it team building process, however you want to phrase it, Andy.
Yeah,
the Browns look better.
Let's get to the big talking point. Fans are going to freak out if Sanders doesn't start next week, aren't they?
Yes, Hunter. Well, here's the thing. For the next,
I know why Kevin didn't say it today. I get it. I understand it. And I turned to somebody right before the press conference and said, he's probably not going to make any kind of commitment, and he didn't. And because it's easy for him if they come out of this tomorrow and they say, well, Gabriel's still in concussion protocol. Okay, then we get it. Sanders starts next week. But if he's not in concussion protocol, and by the way, Deshaun Watson was at the game. Not sure if you saw that or not, but there's just no way. I don't know how he goes back to Gabriel unless he just totally wants to get fired next year.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, that's really the only way you go back to Gabriel at this point. And it's funny, the rule about people say, well, can't lose your job because of injury. Yeah, you can. Sorry, I hate to break it. There's also that other rule, you can't make the club from the tub. So,
Wally Pipp ring a bell?
Yeah, exactly.
I got to give Anthony Lima some love. He had potentially the post of the day on X when he mentioned that that offset language for Deshaun Watson could come into play here offensive coordinator in the making there with the work that he's doing with Shedeur. Look, in all seriousness, though, I do feel like some respect, at least, should go Deshaun Watson's way. You saw it multiple times during the broadcast when CBS was cutting away to the Brown sidelines to Shedeur on the sign. Oh, by the way, can we just shut up with the Kevin Stefanski hates Shedeur narratives, and he doesn't talk to Shedeur and he ignores Shedeur and all this other stupidity that flooded social media after last week's game. It's all bogus. But you saw multiple times where Deshaun was with Shedeur looking at the tablet, going through the pictures and the film or whatever they're looking at on the sideline. So that was good to see. And, to be fair to Deshaun, let's give him some credit for that. Still don't think we see him on the field this season unless it's just absolutely necessary. But to your point about
cleared by doctors.
Yeah, here's the thing. You've got 4 of your next 5 games at home. Okay, you're going to host the 49ers and the Titans. Quick trip to Chicago. Then you're back home to wrap up your home slate against Buffalo and Pittsburgh. And if you want butts in the seats, you need to play Shedeur Sanders. And also, too, this isn't just about putting butts in the seats now. This is a tangible football decision, Andy, that can be made. Again, the numbers don't blow you away. The 11-20 for 209, a TD, a pick. Granted, the TD, Dylan Sampson and the blockers did the bulk of the work on that 66-yarder. But the reality is, I think Shedeur did a nice job managing things. He managed the pressure fairly well. He made one mistake in the game. Okay. Thankfully, it wasn't too costly for the Browns. And that is something that he can learn from. But I think he made enough explosive plays. He extended enough plays. He didn't look, let's put it this way. He didn't look scatterbrained. He didn't look like.
No, he looked at he go ahead. I'll tell you what I thought I saw.
He looked like he belonged out there.
Yeah, he did. He looked, and there were plays that he looked like, he'd been in the league for a while. Then there were plays he looked like a rookie. I mean, it's his first start. Like, people are going to rip him this week, and I'm going to be like, it was his first start. Can we just give the kid a breath? I mean, come on. And people are going to be harsh. I know they are, because they expect instant pudding every time. I expect him to take the Super Bowl. No, I expected him to lead us in a game where we could not be embarrassed today. That's what I was hoping for. And you know what? It was kind of fun. So I think I enjoyed it. And let's not hold our hats that, against anything he may have done wrong today. They won. Like, can we just enjoy that for a minute?
Yeah. Object of the game is the win. Bottom line. And he made enough winning plays, and his supporting cast around him made enough winning plays. Jerry Jeudy's boneheaded play didn't cost him either, thankfully.
Man, that was like straight junior high. Like,
right.
What was he thinking?
And here's the other thing. There were, and I don't want to turn this negative here because it was a very positive day for the Browns. But again, as we said, it wasn't perfect. The receiver's going to have to finish routes. Okay, Dylan Gabriel's not out there. You're going to have to finish routes. You're going to have to finish plays. You're going to have to stay alive to give Shedeur an opportunity to make something when nothing is there, right? And again, I think that that's going to come provided he continues to get those practice reps and he gets more game time. But I just saw so much from Shedeur on Sunday, Andy, that I need to see more. I want to see more.
I think that's the general overall tone. People want to see more, Daryl. I think you're right. I heard Jeff Phelps saying it as I walked by the studio for the postgame show. I thought the same thing. All right, let's see more now. Give us
I'm not saying he's the franchise quarterback. I'm not saying that he's a future Hall of Famer or anything like that. I'm just saying if he starts next week, it's because he earned it. He earned the opportunity with how he played, with how he carried himself throughout the week last week, with how he carried himself throughout the game, how he played. So that's my whole thing. And he made plays that, frankly, Dylan Gabriel did not show us he was capable of making. Now, he might be capable of making those, but we didn't see it. We did not see that from Dylan Gabriel. All we saw from him was take what the defense gives you, dink and dunk, 5-yard passes, okay? And run around like your hair is on fire when you're under pressure. That's what you saw from Dillon Gabriel. You didn't see that from Shedeur Sanders on Sunday. To me, Shedeur's the one that looked like the 3rd-round pick, and Dillon Gabriel is the one who's looked like a 5th-round pick, okay? But I do feel like Shedeur Sanders has absolutely unequivocally earned the opportunity to start next week against the San Francisco 49ers.
There you have it. He's Daryl Ruiter. It's Brownie Bites. We appreciate you watching us on 92.3 The Fans YouTube channel. Of course, we'll be back next week. We'll see who starts. We'll talk about it. But Daryl's back throughout the week with his Brownie Bites as well. And make sure you're listening to 92.3 The Fan all the time for the latest Browns news and information. Daryl, final word?
Yep. Again, hopefully we see Shedeur next week. Dominant day for the defense. And Myles Garrett, I don't think he's going to pass or not just set the NFL record for sacks in the season. I think he's going to absolutely obliterate that record. I really do. 6 games to go. He's 4.5 sacks from tying that record. I think that's easily done. Browns a winner. They go to 3-8 with a 24-10 win over the Las Vegas Raiders. And Shedeur Sanders, your first rookie quarterback in the expansion era to win his starting debut.